So now to the latest on the mysterious death of Nolan Wells. For the first time since Wells' body was found, we're hearing from a friend of the 18-year-old who was with him on the day that he died. Tracestin Shepherd, who says that he was with Wells on the 4th of July, but declined to speak on camera because of the threats that he says he's been receiving.
I just know I've lost my best friend.
This morning, a friend of Nolan Wells, who was with the 18-year-old the day he was last seen alive, is sharing what he says happened during a July 4th boat trip to an isolated barrier island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Tracestin Shepherd declined to speak with us on camera because he says he and his friends are getting threats.
We did no wrong here, and we don't understand how we're getting so much hate behind it. We all cared and loved Nolan, and nobody wanted to see Nolan die. Nobody wanted to see his life be taken so short.
Shepherd addressed this viral video that investigators have been studying. Wells's parents worried it showed their son involved in a confrontation, but Shepherd said that's him, not Wells.
That's the video I'm referring to. That's me yelling.
Shepherd says he took a boat back from Horn Island in the late afternoon, but Wells stayed behind with a girl he had met.
They met that day, and it was kind of one of those things. It did come off that day that he really did like her, but that was the only time they'd ever hung out, was at Horn Island on July 4th.
Investigators believe Wells drowned and say there were no immediate signs of foul play.
There is a photo circulating right now that Ben Crump reposted. It allegedly shows Nolan Wells standing in a pool hours after he was supposedly stranded alone on a remote island. If that photo is real, and if that timestamp is real, it means everything you thought you knew about his final hours is wrong. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. While that photo was spreading, the one person closest to Nolan finally broke his silence. And what he said doesn't just complicate the timeline. It directly contradicts Ben Crump's own account of the most viral piece of evidence in this entire case. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand why investigators, the family, and Nolan's own friend group are now telling 3 different versions of what happened on July 4th. And you'll understand why one detail about that pool party photo might unravel the whole theory. To understand how strange this case really is, you have to go back one more day to the night before Nolan ever stepped on that boat. According to his parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley, the last time they physically saw their son was the night before the 4th of July. He came to their house. He cooked salmon for them for dinner, and before he left, he hugged his mother goodbye. That's it. That's the last time his parents saw him in person. He didn't return home to them that night. Instead, he stayed at a house with the friends he'd be boating with the next morning, and it was from there, the following day, that the group set out for Horn Island. Nolan was supposed to return to school after the holiday weekend to start training for the upcoming football season. That's the version of July 4th his parents were expecting. Instead, the last physical memory they have of their son is a dinner, a hug, and a goodbye that turned out to be final.
First question, how are you two holding up?
Taking it second by second.
Day by day. Second by second and day by day, which we all can understand. And I just want to ask you, the friends that Nolan traveled to Horn Island with, they say that he stayed behind voluntarily. Why would he stay behind?
That we cannot answer. I can't fathom why he would.
I don't know why he would. We always taught him to, if you go with a group, you stay with a group.
On July 4th, he joined a group of friends on a boat trip to Horn Island, a barrier island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, reachable only by private boat. No facilities, no cell towers. Around 3 in the afternoon, Nolan was last seen on that island. His friends packed up and headed back to the mainland without him. His family reported him missing that night. Search efforts ramped up the following day, involving the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, the Coast Guard, and Mississippi's Department of Marine Resources.
Can you walk us through the timeline from the moment that Nolan was reported missing?
Sure. So to the best of my knowledge, again, I didn't get a call till that next day. As I appreciate, late that evening, Nolan was on the beach. The vessel that he came with left, and From there, we don't know what happened, right? Again, I'm just a volunteer. I'm running volunteer operations. I'm not law enforcement. So what happened really isn't what I'm looking for. What I look for a search is that last known location, and then specifics about the area or specifics about the person. Knowing that northwest corner of Horn Island was what we call the LKL, last known location.
On the morning of July 6th, his body was recovered in the water near the island's northwest shore. That's the skeleton of this story. Every claim, every photo, every disputed video hangs off it, and right now, at least 3 separate threads are pulling in different directions. Shortly after Nolan's death, a video started circulating showing a group of young people on the island, seemingly in a heated argument. For days, this was treated as possibly the last video evidence of Nolan alive. At a press conference on July 10th, Ben Crump played this video publicly and said he could hear Nolan's voice in it, saying, quote, "Give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing?" That statement spread everywhere. It became the emotional center of the entire case. Then, days later, someone came forward to say that wasn't Nolan's voice at all. Now, Tracestin Shepherd, Nolan's close friend since freshman year of high school, he was on that boat trip, on that island. On July 13th, he sat down for an interview that aired on Good Morning America, keeping his voice altered and staying off camera, citing online threats he says he and his friends have received since this story exploded. Here's what he said, directly on the record. That voice in the viral video is his, not Nolan's. He says the argument was with his own girlfriend, that another person got involved, and that family and friends stepped in to calm things down. The single piece of evidence Ben Crump held up publicly, quoted word for word at a press conference, is now being disputed by name, on camera, by someone who was physically standing there. He's not alone. Another friend, Javon Williams, told TMZ the audio in that video sounded far too clear to have come from someone standing where the footage was allegedly filmed. Williams says it sounds exactly like a separate incident involving Shepherd, one he personally tried to defuse that day, helping get his friend off the island and back to land while parents on the boat also stepped in. Rolling Stone reported 2 additional people have corroborated Shepherd's version in a report published July 12th.
I want everybody just to relax and let everybody mourn the loss of Nolan, and let us remember him as in like the sweet guy. I think everybody needs to let the investigation continue and let the facts be shown.
Shepherd told us he has spoken to the police, and the sheriff's department said both he and other friends of Wells have been cooperative.
2 friends, independently, now saying the viral video has nothing to do with Nolan at all. Shepherd also gave the clearest account yet of why Nolan was left behind. According to him, Nolan stayed because he'd met a young woman earlier that day, and the group headed back believing he'd catch a ride home later. That lines up with what Sheriff John Ledbetter has relayed from witnesses. Shepherd also addressed the mystery of Nolan's phone, which his mother found through a tracking app at a friend's house rather than with Nolan. Shepherd says Nolan left it in one of the boats along with several others, since he planned to spend the day in the water, and his uncle, who piloted one of the boats, backed this up as normal boating community behavior. The family, though, has separately raised concern that saved photos and videos appear to be missing from the phone, something investigators haven't yet examined firsthand, since the device hasn't been formally handed over. But here's the part that actually matters. Nolan's own parents don't accept the explanation. In their own Good Morning America appearance on July 10th, Christine and Elmore Wansley said Nolan was raised to always stick with the group and that they've struggled to accept he'd simply wander off alone. That's not a minor disagreement. That's the boy's own parents rejecting the story his friends are telling.
Wells left his phone behind, and they tracked it to one of his friends.
It was showing everywhere the phone had been, I was like, well, it's showing that he's back on land.
The sheriff said the parents have not turned over the phone to investigators. Their lawyers said they will.
Remember that photo from the start. While Shepherd was out there defending the friend group, a completely separate piece of alleged evidence was spreading in parallel. Social media users began sharing a photo they claim shows Nolan at a land-based pool party in Jackson County on the mainland before 1 in the morning on July 5th. If real, this contradicts the entire foundation of the official timeline, which has Nolan remaining on Horn Island after the group left, never making it back to the mainland at all. The photo allegedly shows him standing in a pool, someone's arm around his shoulder, surrounded by other people. Crump reposted it, but listen to how carefully he framed it. Not as confirmed, as a development. He's said plainly the claims haven't been officially verified.
So allegedly, Nolan did leave the island, and he went back to Wyatt's house for a pool party. And during that pool party, there was an altercation between Wyatt, Nolan, Evan, and somebody else. And apparently they beat Nolan to death with some sort of bar or pole. There are people that are putting out witness statements stating that they were there and they saw Nolan spitting up blood and that these boys it on Nolan. They are saying that Evan's mother knew about the whole thing. And allegedly, they took Nolan's body back to the water. They're saying that this is the reason why it pinged on land at that house before they found that phone. This is why that boy told his daddy that Nolan was like a brother to me. Was like a brother to me when he showed up to get his car. It's because they already knew he was gone. Is this the reason why they needed dental records? Because he was unrecognizable? This case is starting to bust wide open, and we all knew that something else happened to Nolan. Now the question is, which of the parents helped those kids?
Here's what deserves far more attention than it's gotten. A reverse image search reportedly traces this exact photo back to an Instagram post from a teenager named Evan Knoll, carrying its own timestamp and a caption that simply read, quote, Summer 26. No date confirming July 5th. No confirmation tying it to that specific night. That doesn't mean the photo is fake. It doesn't mean Nolan isn't in it. It means nobody, not investigators, not journalists, not Crump himself, has verified when it was actually taken. There's more attached to this same wave of claims. An unverified statement is circulating from someone claiming to be a mutual friend, alleging multiple altercations happened at this same pool party, that Nolan was injured, coughing up blood, calling for his mother, before everyone was told to leave. Crump has acknowledged this statement exists, while making clear none of it is independently verified. Sit with how serious that allegation is, and how completely unconfirmed it remains. As of right now, none of this has been confirmed. Not the photo's authenticity, not its timestamp, not the identity of the person in it. The video's disputed voice hasn't been resolved either, with two young men now offering conflicting accounts of who's actually speaking, and the toxicology results that could finally give investigators and this family a real answer are still pending. What we do know is that this case is not slowing down. Every few days brings a new claim, a new photo, a new statement from someone connected to that trip. Crump has said he'll continue sharing verified developments as they come in, while urging people to separate confirmed facts from witness claims and online speculation. That's good advice for anyone following this story right now, because the gap between what's rumored and what's proven has never been wider. We'll be tracking every update in this case as it develops, including whatever the toxicology results ultimately reveal. If you want to stay on top of this story as new information comes out, make sure you're subscribed to this channel.